Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
The Saints took to the practice field Tuesday through Thursday for the first week of OTAs, and there's been plenty of no shortage of storylines out of there, whether it's Foster Moreau obviously making his return. Derek Carr's a huge storyline, and that's where we're really going to focus here. Look, Derek Carr's throwing a lot of routes on air right now, okay? There's not a ton you're going to be able to take away from that, but what is of major importance for the New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr is install. He's learning a new system, kind of. We'll get to that. But that's where this becomes extremely important, right? How many times do you hear, for a veteran, OTAs aren't that important, right? And of course not. It's why they're voluntary for a lot of guys. But when you're a quarterback going into a new system, it's extremely important. This is where you're going to learn it. This is where you're going to install it. The Saints did something very interesting as well in doing that. Jeff Duncan reported earlier today, Jon Gruden, former Raiders coach, who Derek Carr played under for 4 years when Gruden made his return to the Raiders, first in Oakland, then in Vegas. They brought him in to kind of help go along. We've heard it a bunch this offseason, how similar the Saints offense is with the Raiders. Why Derek Carr is such a good fit for the New Orleans Saints, right? West Coast offense. He's very familiar with it. The terminology is different, but concepts are the same. Routes are the same. A lot of it is the same. You bring in Jon Gruden to help kind of smooth that process over. He's got a great rapport. He's got a great relationship with Derek Carr. That makes a lot of sense. Another reason it makes a lot of sense is Derek Carr's the most successful years of his career statistically came under Jon Gruden. Derek Carr has eclipsed 4,000 yards passing 4 times in his career. It was all 4 of Coach Gruden's years with the Raiders. Excuse me, frog in the throat there. I'm not telling you just because the Saints bring in Jon Gruden here to work with Carr for a week and to work with the offensive staff for a week that he's going to go out there and throw for 4,200 yards this year. That's not what I'm saying. But the comfortability with Jon Gruden, with Derek Carr, I think that absolutely matters. And look, numbers, I mean, the numbers don't lie there. I mean, he's had 4,000 yard receiving, 4,000 yard passing seasons. They've all come under Jon Gruden. The other thing, as I was kind of reading through this, it reminded me just an awful lot of last offseason. And this is why I say that. If you'll remember last offseason when they're kind of going through install and the coaching change and everything with Jameis Winston now, they obviously kept a lot of the same stuff the Saints had in, but tailored it to Jameis's skill set. Plays that he liked when he was at Tampa Bay that they kind of incorporated in. All those kinds of things, which make a lot of sense. That's what you should do, right? You should tailor your system, offense or defense, to the strength of your personnel. That's how it should be done. That's what they did last year. It's what they're going to do with Derek Carr. They've talked about that plenty, right? Plays that he likes in the playbook. Just, the hits, if you will. They're going to play the hits from the Saints offense as well. And plays that he ran in Vegas that he liked, incorporate some of those. Again, hence why you would bring in a guy like Jon Gruden. That's one similarity. The other similarity that really struck me while reading through Jeff Duncan's piece is they're saying all the right things, just like they did last offseason. And on paper, it looks really good offensively. And last offseason, it did for the Saints too. You were getting Jameis Winston back from the injury, right? We all remember what it was before that injury. They were 5-2, competing at the top of the division. We know. You're getting him back. Mike Thomas is back from injury. You signed Jarvis Landry. Alvin Kamara dodged the suspension last year. We all thought, remember going into last year, Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended. Well, he wasn't. It all looked so great on paper. You needed to fix a few things on the offensive line, but ultimately you felt good with Hurst, Pete, McCoy, Ruiz, and Ramchick. It looked real good. Pete Carmichael, Sean Payton's gone, but Pete Carmichael's been there since 2009 under Sean Payton. You know how this is going to go. He can run this offense great. We referenced the Bounty Gate season so much where he called plays, right? And how great it was, how successful it was. Yes, the Saints offense ended up with a lot of injuries. There were times last year where it was just a really tough watch with Pete Carmichael calling plays. And again, in hindsight, you look back and you say, personnel wasn't there all the way. You thought you were going to have Jameis. You end up with Andy Dalton. Mike Thomas only plays 2 weeks. Jarvis Landry's in and out of the lineup. And you got Rashid Shaheed in there. Traquan Smith. I mean, again, yes, at times, Keith Kirkwood, at times, personnel absolutely hampered that. And looking back on it, you can say, but man, there were some times the play calling just seemed out of sorts and really didn't make sense for the New Orleans Saints last year with Pete Carmichael at the helm. Now you're going into an offseason here. Very similar, right? And again, you have the ability to look back. You have hindsight last year, but on paper, your offense looks great. Mike Thomas is set to be back. You went out and got a free agent quarterback that the coaches love in Derek Carr. Alvin Kamara, suspension, yeah, probably at some point this year, but you go get Jamal Williams, right? You supplement there. You had a great draft where you get A.T. Perry, who could come in and make some waves as a rookie potentially. Kendre Miller at the running back position. People are already talking about, is he the next guy to supplant Alvin Kamara? Rashid Shaheed, people think he can break out. You go get Foster Moreau. You get Brian Edwards, who's very, very familiar with Derek Carr. Again, you see the similarities, right? On paper, it all looks so good. Offensive line as well. Maybe you get Trevor Penning back and he's able to take the next step and be your starting left tackle. You're going through all these measures. You've taken all these measures to be back in the same situation you were last year. It has to be better. It has to be better. You're even bringing in now your quarterback's former coach to help with install, to make sure it goes seamlessly. You've brought in players he's familiar with, like we said, with Edwards, with Foster Moreau. You went and got another receiver in the draft. Michael Thomas is set to be back. All of that, Pete Carmichael, you've got a clean slate. It stands to reason you should expect a much better offensive performance from the Saints this season, and it should start week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. All of that is fair. And if it doesn't come to fruition, the finger's absolutely going to be pointed at Pete Carmichael for a second year in a row, especially if there's health throughout the Saints lineup. So that struck me again as I was reading through it. I was like, man, it sounds real familiar. They're saying all the right things. They're making all the right moves. Last year it didn't work. We'll see. You get a redo. We'll give you a redo, but results are going to be expected early, and by early, we mean week 1 versus the Tennessee Titans.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.